Yeah, me too. She doesn't know me, but I know her.
Okay, it's 6:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Kevin, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Mr. Avery?
Here.
Mr. Hannah?
Present.
All members of council are in attendance. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council. This is Tuesday, March 28, 2023. Any additions to the agenda this evening?
There'll just be a quick report. Assume that might be under old business about a possible meeting with the township about the park.
All right, we'll put that. You want to go under committee reports?
Committee reports or wherever you would like to place it.
All right,
that's
that
fine.
sounds good, Mr. Hannah. And any other items?
And I'll be scheduling a meeting for the public service.
This is
committee.
Sweet. Park and public service. All right, so let's go to approval of the minutes, and we will go, Mr. Avery, thank you for reminding me, we have to go all the way back for the January 24th, 2023 meeting. So I would need a motion and a second from the members that were present at that meeting to approve that set of meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Hannah, and Kevin, call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Abstain.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Abstain.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And those minutes are approved. And let's go to Tuesday, February 28, 2023. And if council is satisfied with the contents of those, I would also entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Bear. Call the roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Abstain.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And those minutes are approved as presented. Let's go into the financial report, and the reports that you have in front of you, those coincide with the actual bank reconciliations. So this would be for the period to the end of February 2/28/23. As of the end of last month, our general fund balance was approximately $99,000. Street maintenance and construction, $72,000. Let's look at the ARPA fund, $135,000. Police levy, $179,000. Water operating, $265,000, and contingency, $110,000. Total of funds, $776,692.76. And looking at the revenue status on that first page for the general fund, that will increase tremendously. I received notice from our fiscal officer that we have received our first half of real estate taxes, so that will be reflected in the next report that we will see coming out in April. But as of the 28th, we had received about 4% of our anticipated revenues. That's going to go up to about 50% by the time that real estate is added in. On page 2, street construction, we received about 16% of anticipated revenues. And let's keep going. Let's see. On page 4, we have our, let's go back to page 3 there under the police levy. And of course, that will change dramatically too with the next report. That should be real close to about 46%, 50% of our anticipated revenues. So on page 4, water operating, 18%, And that would we'd be right in line with that because that would include the month of February. So total on page 5, approximately 12%. And again, those numbers are going to change dramatically with the receipt of that first half of real estate taxes for the general fund, police levy. Rollback is probably not going to be included in that. That seems to come in like a few weeks later. If we go to the appropriation status report, looking at the general fund, over to page 2, we've spent about 15% of what we have anticipated so far this year as of the 28th of February. And some of those higher percentages, again, our fiscal officer has the ability to maneuver those funds. She does have flexibility with the way this is set up. Looking at street construction and maintenance, we've spent about 15%, 14 and a half, I guess. Going to page 3, under our police levy, we're about 16%. And continuing to the water fund, we have spent about 19%. Overall, there on page 5, we spent approximately 16% of what our anticipated expenditures would be for the year. And then last but not least, we have bank reconciliation for the month of February. And unless there's any questions, I would entertain a motion in a second to approve the financial report for the month of February. And that was moved by Mr. Avery and seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
And the financial report for the month of February has been approved as submitted. Next on our agenda, we have, received, Elmer, you might know this person. We have received a letter from Dolores Beard. You do know her, okay. And this letter is asking for interest from the village, the Historical Society, in the idea of a mural that might be painted on a building or buildings throughout the village, including maybe Subway, with some different designs that were attached to it. And Kevin and I were talking a little bit before the meeting, and I think it would be a great idea. Of course, it would be up to individual businesses if they wanted to participate, but I think this is something that would merit further discussion, and maybe see if the Historical Society is interested in using the students from the Green and Art Department. So we appreciate that letter from Dolores. And are there any comments from the council regarding this idea?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen other communities that have had murals painted and they're just really eye-catching.
And you get downtown
Well done.
Cincinnati, and
Yeah,
there's some pretty nice murals there.
Miami's work.
Yeah.
That's a nice one.
And we go to Lake Erie once a year, and we pass through this little town called Bucyrus, and they have some nice murals. If you've never been through that town, it's a neat little town to go through.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, we like the idea, I think, is the gist of it, and maybe there can be some coordinated efforts with the Historical Society.
Historical Society received the exact same letter.
You did?
We
Okay.
did, and we've been talking about it, and
What was the flavor?
well, the same, that we
Okay.
think it's a good idea. It's just a matter of, paying for it and who's going to be the artist. And we even thought about maybe finding out who did some of the artwork on the other ones, like Bucyrus, and see if those people are available or could recommend someone that's as equally talented.
And didn't I see something in the paper where the city of Springfield just recently had some artwork done outside on a building? So, yeah, I think
They did.
Did they? Okay. So I think there might be some resources to get some ideas, but yeah.
So we need a committee to do that, and I'm not volunteering. Too much on my plate. But we could ask Mrs. Beard to be on the committee.
I think
as
that'd be a
well
great
as other-
idea. So why don't we think about who would be good members for that? Not right here at this time, but who would be good for, yeah, somebody from the Historical Society, somebody from the village, and definitely Mrs. Beard. So, okay.
We could also put something on there to reflect people that lived here in the past, like Gus Gresham.
Gus Grissom, yeah.
So,
And my dad, no, I'm kidding. Well, he was important to me.
He was very important.
Yeah, the mustache, the handlebar mustache.
Going to staff reports. Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
All
Good
right,
evening.
thank you, Mayor, council, residents. First item on my agenda there is the Enon Xenia road closure. There's an email in there from Paul DeButy. As of today, the Enon Road project update. During Greenan's spring break from April 3rd to April 7th, the contractor will close the intersection at Robert Pike and Xenia Road to through traffic to reconstruct that intersection. It was 3 days, but they changed that to 7 today. The intersection will be shut down for 7 days. The 3 days is for the storm sewer work that's gonna take place in that intersection. And then after that 3 days, that company's gonna move on down to Green Vista. And then the sanitary, excuse me, that company's gonna go down to Green Vista. And then the storm sewer crew will come in after they're done and finish up the storm in that section there. So the original plan was to just do the sanitary, open the road back up, then come May again, shut it down to do the storm, but they decided that it better, once it's closed down, to get it all done at once. So it's going to be shut down for 7 days. So, and naturally, that's weather permitting. I mean, if they get some rain days, where they can't work, but the plan is to shut it down for 7 days now. So
And it starts the 3rd still, like the sign?
through the 10th, yeah.
The 3rd through the 10th. Thank you.
Let's see. Then as it goes on, that they'll be moving down to Southern Vista and Green Vista. Traffic will be maintained down in that area with flaggers and the best that they can. So, but just wanted to let you know that did change suddenly today. So everything else seems like it's going pretty good. We did have a couple issues with the water breaks, but the guys got on it right away, and with the help of the crew down there, helping digging and things, it got a handle on it pretty well. So, but everything seems to be going pretty good. So,
A question from Mr. Whitaker.
Have we had any contact with the school about, so I know it's going to be spring break next week when they're planning on having that intersection shut down. I've seen some posts online that's okay, we'll just run through the school. I don't know if
I have
that's
not.
going to be
but-
something that the
but it
school's
might-
going to be okay with, and they're probably going to expect you to be there to say no.
I can reach out to Darren and see if he's got a game plan, but I have not.
And that was brought to their attention at our meeting back in January, that the possibility of that could happen. So be on the lookout. So,
They were aware that very high likelihood that was
Yes.
going to happen, so it's in their minds, so it
Okay.
just depends on.
They're supposed to also be bringing in some gravel for just south of Robert Pike too, to start putting gravel down to get that road back in shape. So they were removing some old storm today, and then leveling back off. But they're supposed to. The word is that they were supposed to bring some gravel in tomorrow and start laying that down as well too. So
and where was that at, Kevin?
just south of Robert Pike on down toward Hunter.
Yeah, because the idea is get that reconstructed now and get it back open.
Yes.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Want to clarify that. Thank you.
Is there an ordinance or something specifically prohibiting people from traveling behind the school?
I highly doubt it, and I don't
Yeah,
even know if
and
that's
I didn't
something that
think
you
so
guys could
either,
even
but I
look out
didn't know.
for, or would even care.
There's a local ordinance of shortcutting property, but that was repealed by the state years ago. So technically, it's really not an effective law.
And I don't know that it'll be that much traffic. I know
Yeah.
I've heard the comments already.
Yeah.
And we've already made them aware of it, already been discussed, so hopefully it'll go well.
What, will they not have liability concerns?
There's,
Major
I'm
type
sure they will.
liability concerns?
sure they
So they very well, may close the gate,
Yeah, they have gates.
They may shut that back gate, who knows?
yeah, they would have to gate it.
go around the gate?
Well,
Yeah, I guess it's, yeah, sort of.
there's no. Yeah, they'd have to block the front with something. They don't have a gate at the
Well,
front.
they have school buses they could block it with. Right, Albert?
I would just anticipate something is going to come to the village about it.
I would imagine.
And
We
we're
should be
gonna-
prepared.
And we're gonna
Yep,
hear about it.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
The emergency
So,
vehicle's gonna do.
For where?
Same thing everybody else is doing them. Yeah.
What we're doing right now, going down Fowler Road to get there.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
I
struggle.
mean,
is
we're,
real.
we're pretty much avoiding that section of the road at all costs right now. Now, we do have some folks on Enon Xenia that we see on a quite frequent basis, so as long as we have access to those houses, we should be fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Next item is the 2023 annual rate survey, the water cost survey. Looks like we are number 4 on the list. So that's in your. We're not the cheapest. We're not definitely not the most expensive. So Minster's at 63, Union's at 83, Oakwood's 83. We are at 84.
And it's time to look at our rates again, unfortunately. It's getting we were talking about this this afternoon, Kevin and I. It's $3,500 every time we get a load of salt, which is every other week.
2 weeks.
And that's almost going up, about 50% here in the last few years. So,
Chlorine's going up, everything's going up, so
yeah.
nobody likes to hear that word rate increase, but I think it's going to have to be discussed anyhow. So
Absolutely.
we'd had a couple BZA meetings. You got your notes in your packet there. The variance number 2023-01 was a variance submitted by Mr. Tom Halterman, business owner of True Blue H2O, located next door. He requested a variance for his sign setback, and the board did approve that, so. So we got, on both of these, we have to wait 20 days according to the ordinance for any, not complaints, but any
An appeal.
disregard, yeah, an appeal. So.
Yeah.
Variance number 2023-02. Letter was submitted by the Greenon Schools to construct a building, not construct a building, but a 3-foot variance height variance. The code says 14 feet, and their building's gonna be 17 feet, so. And the board approved that one as well, so.
Where's that building going to be located
It's gonna
at?
be on the.
Like the northeast corner?
Northeast corner, right there is the drive, kind of goes back around the school right there.
Did they
on
say what
corner.
the intent of it was? I read in there it was something about snow plows, maybe.
Yeah, just equipment. They don't have room or storage, like they need for some equipment and stuff, so.
Okay.
In front of you is the mayor court report for February. There were 9 cases, 8 traffic and 1 criminal. Total funds received for the month was $2,042.66. Year to date, $3,087.66. Total remitted to the state was $312.50. Year to date, $462.50. Total remitted to the village, current month, $1,619.66. Year to date, $2,508.66. Total dispersed, $2,042.66, and year to date, $3,087.66.
I'll move that we accept the mayor's court report as presented.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, and I'm not sure who got that second in.
Anna.
Rick? I don't think so. Mr. Bear? Any further discussion? Call roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes,
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And we have a resolution that we need to pass for our road salt contract. Emergency resolution number 2023-03, authorizing the participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2023.
I'll move that we waive the 3 reading rule.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet, and call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Okay, the 3 reading rule has been waived, and we'll need a motion and a second to pass emergency resolution 2023-03.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mr. Avery. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And that resolution does pass unanimously. So Kevin, I'll get this back to you so you can get it turned in.
All right, thank
Let's
you.
see who all needs to sign that. Rick and, okay.
And the last thing on my agenda here is, I know a while back we talked about putting up new Welcome to Enon signs at the village entry points. Just want to let you know we do have one up out here coming in from the east. If you haven't noticed it yet, that's kind of what they're going to look like. We are anticipating to put up one out by the docks and one out by Enon Park, and then eventually have the rest of them put up. But those are the 3 major ones, the busiest ones that we're going to get done. So pretty
Looks
easy
great.
to put up, and yeah, they turned out pretty good.
Really
Turned out
well.
good. And I was telling Mrs. Sweet that I'm going to be contacting the churches that have their signs, or the groups that have their signs on already, to see if they want to, freshen up their signs, newer signs, and that's totally up to them. But we took them off the post that was there and kind of arranged them on the signs, so it looks pretty good. Put a flower box around them, so this spring there'll be some flowers and stuff in there too. So just
Nice
wanted to let
job.
you know. Thank you.
Questions for our administrator? Seeing none, thanks, Kevin. Chief, I'll turn it over to you. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, evening council residents. May 12th, we have the circus coming up. Originally, we were going to have it down at the school, but after looking at the map and stuff, we were going to move it to Enon Park, talk to the administrator, So that's May 12th at the Enon Park there on Enon Road. Show times are 5 p.m. and then 7:30 p.m. And the circus said they will be shipping us posters with the new dates and new tickets. Once we get those in, we'll get them up to the front office, and then I'll see if I can get some vendors around
How
town.
much
to
are
push
they,
them out.
Mike? What was the cost of the tickets?
That's a very good question. I don't actually know.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll tell me when they send the packet.
All right.
Yeah.
You have a plan for parking down there at Enon Park. So I know that'll be the one hurdle that we have.
Yeah, so in a perfect world, the ground will be dry like it was the last time we hosted it down there, and we'll be able to pull off to the right, go through the grass, and park cars in there.
Okay.
In an unperfect world, we'll park on the concrete, and it'll be a mess, and we'll just have to get by. I mean,
Yeah.
What do we want to do about the road that we just built back through there? Are we going to leave access there, or are we going to go ahead and close that down with the dirt pile that we've got
I
there?
think we ought to close it down.
yeah, they never really.
I
Nobody,
think we should close it.
Okay, I was thinking, well, maybe you get parking off of there, but if you get people back there trying to get them in and out, it's going to be problematic, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why I know that Chief Wilcox prior to me, we had talked about having it. Well, they'd had it at the school once at IV, and there were some issues with the turf being tore
Yes.
up, and they run some stakes pretty deep into the ground, longer than most humans, and I didn't want to put that on the school And also, I wasn't sure about the ground being marked for lines and stuff like that. So it worked the last time down at the park, so it just judgment call. But yeah, we could block that off. We have the National Drug Take Back Day scheduled for April 22nd. This will all be on the website at some point. That's here at the Enon Government Center. It'll be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's a Saturday. We post on the website. We have a drop box up there. We just have people, like in the past, they put it up there, and then we transport that to an undisclosed location with the DEA. Shortly after that, they dispose of it free of charge, as usual. And they've been doing that roughly quarterly or biannually, which has been extremely helpful.
And do we have pretty good participation, Mike?
It's, it's back
Or
and
is it hit
forth.
and miss?
They people utilize the Dropbox, all the time.
Right.
So I've seen it where it's like, oh wow, I should have ordered more boxes. And then other times, like the last time, I think we maybe got like a couple boxes. When I say boxes, they're not very big.
Right,
One
right.
by 3 maybe. But that's what we participate. We actively involved with them, and we do the dates that they pick, and it's online all over, so people can come from wherever. They just get on the website and go to the nearest one. So the only thing I do ask is if the community will remember that we do not accept sharps or liquids, and or aerosol cans, though I don't think that's on the sign. But I know that they reached out to the fire department, and I try not to divert the calls over there. I know that those things are hard to get rid of, and I don't know if the fire department or anybody knows experience about that, but I tell folks, if you don't want to buy a sharps container, then you buy something, or you use something in your household that appears that is related to a sharps container and dispose of it the way everybody else does, and they just throw it in the trash. I don't know any. Do you know anything they do with it? I mean, the main thing is you don't want to throw something sharp in the trash can, but don't put them in the box. We don't want them for a reason. We get stuck with them like everybody else.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But anyways, yeah, it's nice to be able to do that, and that'll be coming up then. Officer Dunham, she just went to a Street Smart Cop Proactive Patrol Tactics on March 20th. That was a good training. It's hosted by Blue and Gold, I think is their trademark, but anyways, they're really good. It's like New Jersey State Police, and some real seasoned veterans come in, so she got to sit on a day for that. She enjoyed it. I will be leaving April 10th to the 15th to be proctoring a cryptocurrency class down at NCFI. And for my one, I'll get to learn a little bit more, but I also get to come back with a software for that type of investigation will benefit our Montgomery County office, because our Dayton office, because that is one thing we're a little short on there. The speed limit sign over there on Brunswick and Twin Lakes area, Sunnybrook.
Sunnybrook.
Yep, got it. That's been working, looks like it's been working pretty good. And I want to thank Kevin, the administrator, for getting that operational for us. He got the batteries, they got it done, they got it pulled out, they got it working. It looks good. I think Yipes and Stripe did a good job striping it up, and I'm glad to see it out on the streets. And
So let me say something. I want to thank both of you for your efforts. Number one, that sign has helped tremendously. The presence of our police department has also helped. It was a little out of control there for a while. People are heeding the warnings. They're looking at the signs. The residents appreciate it. I received a nice email. Mike, I shared that with you.
Thank you.
Kevin, I shared it with you as well, from one of the residents, an older couple that live in the area. I've had a couple phone calls. I shared one of those calls with you as well, from residents that appreciate the work that the village has done. So thank you.
Did the battery run down on that this weekend?
I'll check it out.
Look at the boss.
I'll check it out and see.
it may have those solar panels, if they don't get enough UV light, they just, I learned a little bit
And
on
it
that. It
should
takes
be-
some time.
Should be plugged in,
Should
isn't
be
it?
plugged in. I'll have to check
It
and
wasn't.
see.
It
It
wasn't.
wasn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you our officers, current ones and the ones, of course, we recently brought on, they have been really doing a good job getting out there, patrolling. In fact,
Yeah.
in February, we had 16 traffic citations total for the month of February, which is, in January we had 4, which is kind of cold weather. But February, I guess proactive folks out there, they did. These are impressive numbers for me, because I encourage my officers, to do what they do, and they do. And I have it written down here somewhere. 63 traffic stops in February, and out of those 63 traffic stops, they had 16 citations. So I know only, I think, 9 or 8 went, but the rest were up at municipal court. So if you don't see the numbers reflected in that, that's why I send them there. So that's pretty good. And those were ranging anywhere from a couple speeding citations to driving under suspensions. We had some OVIs in there. So
And those are not all just in that Indian Valley Estates area. That's throughout the village.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for example, the driving under suspensions that was a predominant amount of them, and driving under suspensions aren't, doesn't have anything to do with speeding or anything like that. Just folks, those of you that's ever been involved in a traffic crash where you were nice enough to have car and auto insurance, but the other person didn't, I will tell you that law enforcement enforcing that you shouldn't be driving without a driver's license thing is very helpful for these folks. I know I've personally had that happen to me. That you got to pay the brunt of the financial part. So, but they're on that. But also, good news on the Durango. I'm going to take that down to Yipes and Stripes in Inglewood on April 7th. I'm going to drop it off there, and they are going to stripe that thing up.
Good.
Also, when I talked to Todd down there, he informed me, which I passed on to you, that the signs for the building were in the process of being made that day. If they haven't been brought back to the village by then, I can go ahead and grab them while I'm down there on the 7th and bring them back with me. And that's the ones for the building. He's very, very busy, but he's have that. And then I come back on the 15th. He said he should have it done. I'm still waiting on the parts P&R to receive them all. But they did tell me last month it would be mid-April, so hopefully,
Keep your fingers crossed.
when I leave Inglewood, well, I can tell you this, and short of P&R telling me no, when I leave Inglewood from picking it up, I'm dropping it off in Dayton at P&R, and they get that done. I can't wait to get that done. There was no design change. It will look like our regular marked cars. However, there will be no white backing on it. I remember when me and Chief Wilcox talked about that, we were trying to go with the old black and white style look. And
Yep.
then one of the cruisers we bought was white, that we had used black vinyl on it and had a white roof. So that was the Charger. So the oldest SUV, we ended up trying to match the Charger. And then we realized that we didn't necessarily think that looked as good as it could. So we went away from it. That's why the other cruisers don't have it so much. But we're actually going to take it completely off. Our officers really didn't like it too much. And kind of like one of those random boat things. But and then I saved the last for, in my opinion, news, because this is as far as being a chief and actually lieutenant, this is the biggest thing I've done financially. I think I applied for that ARPA retention bonus 2022 OCJS grant, which the OCJS reached out to us, and we just received that award letter. We got a pre-award a couple weeks ago, and I got the award letter the other day that you signed for $26,822.97, and that is to give a retention bonus to the current officers on staff according to the grant. And of course, why we did it to help kind of keep them, right? Retain them. There's a lot of agencies out there throwing money trying to take cops, which is happening everywhere. This is to kind of
It's
help
not
them-
just police,
help them
Mike,
stay.
but
What's that? Yeah, no, it's not just police. I know it's everywhere, but that would be a one-time lump sum payment to them, and that I was excited to get that, and I know the officers are excited that we got approved for that. So,
Congratulations again.
thanks, sir.
Yeah.
And that is, I think I've covered everything. Sorry for the long report, but play catch up. That's all I
Questions for our chief?
I have a question.
Yes.
We got an email from you about distracted driving
Oh.
training or something?
There you go. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, April 4th, the state of Ohio passed the distracted driving, no text, you can't text, be on a cellular device. And I did say in the email, and I bring that up. So they signed that House Bill 222, I believe is what it was. They signed that into effect, had to go 90 days from January 4th when it was signed. April 4th, law enforcement will be able to use that as a primary stop to stop drivers who are using mobile devices, hold them in their hands, trying to send a text. Basically, you can't be on the phone. You're allowed to be talking on the phone up to your head. That's pretty much the extent of it. That does not apply to first responders, law enforcement, EMS, fire, but short of that, everybody else falls under that. We will have 6-month period where law enforcement will give warnings, and then after that, they can use that as primary stop, issue citation if needed. I don't think I can talk about it forever, but anybody that drives down the road, it is it's scary sometimes, folks paying attention to the phone too much.
Yeah.
Now you will be able to stop at a traffic light if you're stopped at a stoplight. If you want to push a button to start your GPS or, answer a call, you'll be allowed to do that. But short of that, that's it. Stop signs, that doesn't count. So stop lights, and then there's a little bit of a text, or a little bit into it, but that's pretty much it. Those under 18 are not supposed to be on electronic devices, period. That's always been the law, but sometimes it's hard to distinguish the age. But I think I know back when I did the speaking for the hashtag safety and all that moving forward to trying to distract the driving a few years ago, I personally just quit getting on my phone. I tried it, and it is, you get used to it. But one, you drive better. Two, you notice everybody else drives worse than you do, and I'm glad that I put that down. So.
Yeah. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, if there's any questions, folks can call me. We're not going to go out and try to write tickets, but we definitely want the citizens and anybody else to not to do that. Just drive.
Thank you. Any other questions for our chief?
Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, thanks to both of you again. Appreciate it. Committee reports. Mr. Hanna, you are up.
Just very briefly, there's been a few changes here and there after speaking with our engineer, Jason Harrell, about the park itself and some of the things that are needed. You've got the most recent rendering of March 20th. They're in front of you now. One thing that we did try to do off of that was because of draining issues, we had to move some things around. We also added a roundabout. That kind of evolved after the soccer kids or the soccer group asked if we would be interested in them donating a flagpole, and we kind of thought, well, that might be a good place for either a memorial or a center point, I guess would be one way to put it. Additionally, it also will serve to keep it from being a drag strip across through there when you have that circle in the very center of the main entry into the park itself. So some people have contacted us, citizens, about what our plans are, where it's going to go, and have some recommendations, have some questions. And once again, we will try to have public input here next week. Tentatively, we are going to be asking for April 4th at 7 o'clock. Does that sound good? 7 o'clock?
6:37, whatever you guys want to do. And that's Tuesday? Is that Tuesday?
Yeah.
So
It's a
7
Tuesday.
would probably,
It is a Tuesday.
I know the public service, we're planning on trying to meet beforehand, so
Okay,
if
so
we could do 7, that'd be great.
We'll start that at 7. I don't really expect a whole lot of business off of that, because basically it's just going to be ideally question and answer period, and try to see if there are some other concerns. We continue trying to move forward with it, but the funding issues, I think we're going to have to start getting a little more aggressive in trying to find out where the funds can come from, because that's our major point, and we'd like to start doing some dirt work as soon as possible, actually. The initial talk has been to go ahead and strip the current soccer fields there at Enon Park, get the topsoil moved off of those, get a good base underneath them, and that's something we can do, and try to get people to come to the park, so it starts getting a reputation that the facilities are there, and that it'll be the easiest way for us to start transitioning it into a place for people to come, respectfully.
Is that date and time, does that seem suitable for everybody next Tuesday?
And that will be joint with the township.
And here,
That's going to be here.
Here.
that's what the township would be here, okay.
Thank you, Rick. And Kevin, could you pass that along to, well, Rick, you could probably talk to Todd about that, make sure it's okay with them.
I'll be talking to him.
And then we can do the notice on it. Thank you. And it would be, again, a joint meeting with the township trustees.
Part of it too is there's a lot of fingers now that are going back and forth with Todd trying to contact contractors and just really give you a basic a comprehensive view of what is being done and the different directions that that we're trying to get this to come together.
And Rick, what's the rough order of magnitude of the amount of funding needed to build the park?
I'm sorry, Dave.
The amount of funding needed to build the park? Rough order of magnitude?
Yeah, what we're seeing is the estimate of 6.3 million is what the top dollar is. What we've tried to do is break down, and last week I broke it down into different categories. And the dirt work itself, if you can bear with me just a second, the dirt work itself for us to end up getting the where we would like to very quickly. The dirt work itself is around 605,000. It's important to know that we've discussed renting some equipment ourselves and do some of the dirt moving within house. So Todd has a construction background. A couple of us can run equipment. If cut corners here and there, but that's for the dirt work itself. The surfaces. This does not include turf, but this includes the blacktop, concrete, and things like for the pickleball, basketball, et cetera. 2,167,000 for the utilities such as light poles, sanitary sewer, water, electric, and again site lighting about 330,000. The finished dirt work, when we finally start getting a grade going, about 360,000. The facilities, and this is what the big bucks comes in here, including one diamond or one field that would be turf, is about 3,200,000. So, we've discussed trying to see about naming rights with individuals. We're going back and forth trying to contact some of the medical sources, such as Premier Health, Kettering Health. They've all got criteria that needs to be met generally before they'll have a sit down with you. We are anticipating some information coming, I think, from the mayor and Speedway / 7-Eleven to see what their involvement may be off of this, or their lack of involvement may be. So people start playing the lottery whenever it's real big, and we'll name the park after you. But yeah, it's a lot of money, and a secondary issue too. And when we start talking about the initial dirt work, is trying to get a contractor in there in a timely basis, especially the way construction goes right now. So it may behoove us to start learning to operate some of the equipment back again and to move this thing forward. And the big thing is keeping it in people's minds that work. It's not stagnant, but if people can see some progress going down there or some movement, I think that's a reason to have some excitement. I know we've asked Kevin to reach out to have a nice drawing of a sign to put out there saying future site of Enon Sports Park, and just kind of keep trying to present it to the maximum amount of people for soccer says they want to be an active partner in this, and we passed on to them that we've had multiple meetings and really they've never participated, and baseball wants to be involved, so more power to them if we welcome any assistance.
And I think a good line of thinking is for next week, any ideas or suggestions or anything that anybody would have to bring up that could be discussed as a group, not only listening from some of the organizations that may want to eventually utilize those facilities, but all that stuff, that's a good opportunity to get all kinds of things and things that maybe have not been thought of. So I think that joint meeting is going to be very good.
And some of this that you'll see in front of you has been presented from Harrell and Associates. So there are some reasonings why some of the facilities are where they're at. So a lot of that goes with the drainage and elevation problems that or elevation challenges we may be facing down there. So
And through all this, Rick, do you have a rough order of magnitude cost of the sustainment year to year?
not at this time, Dave. You know, we've asked Harrell and Associates to give us some ideas on what they can present to us as far as to deal with that. I don't know that that's actually going to be their niche. I think that would have been a very good question that we would propose to the sports group, that Conger group that initially reached out to us, because they will actually go into neighborhoods, communities, et cetera, find out the feasibility of it, what other availability or what other options are available to people, the continuing expense of that, whether you would want to take that on as a village, or what you'll see is from some aspects is some private entities may go over and actually run the facilities. I know Kettering has a very good Parks and Recreation department that might be somebody that we could foster with at some point when we actually start having this process go into effect. We're going to need help. I think in the long-term aspect of that, the more, and we're getting all kind of long here, but the big thing is realizing what we can do locally and what we have to reach out for, and the expense that it's going to bring in, or problems that it may entail in the long run. That's one reason why we were looking at some of the AstroTurf issues, because then you don't have to worry about the constant upkeep, but there are costs to AstroTurf to
Right.
keep it viable, and there's a lot of staph infections, things of that nature. So lot of things are out there.
Yes.
It's been a long answer to try to tell you, no, we don't know at this point. It kind of depends on what we actually have on the ground when we open up and what we can use it for.
Yeah, in my business career, I've seen too many projects where we acquired the funding to build it, and then 3-4 years later, we couldn't sustain it, and therefore it went unused. Or we had to sell something because we didn't have the funds to sustain it.
We have had a couple of people that we've talked to that have a lot of connections, and again, without dragging it out too long, they've been very excited about our location. The proximity to I-70 and Columbus, Springfield, Dayton, and Cincinnati. You've got a big draw here, and it's easy on, easy off. So, it would be incumbent upon us to make a facility where people are going to want to come and continue that facility. You can't be stagnant. You always have to keep it moving forward in order to keep the interest there.
All right.
Thanks, Rick. Mrs. Sweet?
Like Jeremy mentioned, we just are going to schedule a public service meeting the same evening at 6:30 to look over the compensation.
Policy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Policy, and hopefully to decide that we're good to go for a vote on it for the next council meeting. So 6:30, Kevin, 6:30 for the public service, the same date, please,
Gotcha.
for public notice. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go into new business, annexation ordinance. So early on, the mention of annexation of the property. And again, if you want to get a visual, just look at the map that Kevin actually copied for Rick there for the layout. This would be the exact same legal description. If you look at the ordinance and the Exhibit A, that's the legal description for that property. And again, the thinking is let's get it inside the village so it's under local zoning, local law enforcement. And this was, brought to the attention of the township trustees. Rick, I have not heard any objections whatsoever on doing this. I think they were in favor of it. So what this emergency ordinance would do would allow our solicitor to get that process started with an annexation agreement that would be entered into between the township and the village by a separate resolution. So I'll propose this emergency ordinance 2023-03, which is an ordinance to authorize the annexation.
Tim, we just passed a resolution, emergency resolution 03
So this needs to be.
for the salt.
Yeah, that was a resolution, right?
Right, this is the ordinance.
Oh,
Yeah,
ordinance.
so this is an ordinance. So,
Okay.
Yep. So this would get the process started. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but this is the first step. So I'll introduce this, and if council sees fit, then we would suspend the 3 reading rule and go on with the passing of the ordinance.
I'd like to make a motion
Suspend the 3 reading rule.
and to suspend the 3 reading rule.
And I'll second.
So we have a motion to suspend, we have a second, and call the roll, and we will get into the actual ordinance here in just a second.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Now, an ordinance to pass emergency, or a motion to pass emergency ordinance 2023-03, so we'd need a motion and a second for that.
So
moved.
With me.
Rick, okay. Moved by Mr. Hannah, second.
second.
Mr. Whitaker. Any further discussion?
Just a real quick remark. Again, this was discussed before the purchase was ever made with the township trustees. They are essentially relieved that the village will go ahead and take over the jurisdiction of that. And on top of that, then it will not have any effect on our ongoing rotation with the upkeep of the park and the service agreements that we've got with each other, so respectfully.
And what would be the next step in this process?
So, I'm not sure exactly the next step, but there's got to be, at some point in time, a petition filed with the Clark County Commissioners, and then there has to be an agreement that would be approved by the village and the township. And I'm in the process of reviewing that before I send it to the township, and then the council will get a copy of it. But it basically lays out, it's like, look, we would have certain responsibilities. They would have maintained certain responsibilities. We would stay within the limits of the township still. Just some basic verbiage, if you will. So I know those 2 parts are part of the process. And Jeremy, I don't know what order.
Okay.
And I'd just like to go on record checking with our chief that he's willing to say that they're going to be able to handle the extra area, that's all.
That was my idea to annex it.
Okay, I figured as much, but I wanted to go on record
It's
and
fields.
saying,
We got plenty.
but it's not just fields, there'll be a lot of people there eventually.
Yeah, I
Okay.
hope so.
I hope so too.
Ponds.
Ponds.
Yeah.
And maybe we should check with the fire department.
Tickets for
Ponds.
fishing.
Well, that wouldn't change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't change.
I don't know.
Any other
That would take care of
questions?
your area, right?
No
Call roll.
questions?
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And that emergency ordinance does pass. Thank you very much. And the last item we have on our agenda this evening is to vote for Citizen of the Year and Young Citizen of the Year. So the nominees for Citizen of the Year, the first one is Jessie DeVore, and most of us know Jessie. She was nominated by Pam and Rusty Cottrell. She's been a lifelong member of the Historical Society. Does a lot of work, obviously, for the apple butter. She's, you can see her tending to the pots, tending to the fires, does the tree lighting. She is the president, I didn't know that, of the Friends of the Clark County Parks, and of course does various events throughout the year, and also volunteers at the Fair of New Boston. So her nomination form and the letter sent by Pam Cottrell was included in your packets. The second nominee for Citizen of the Year is Sherry Bostic, and she was nominated by Karen Olson, and does have a couple of support letters from Jeff Moore, retired pastor of the Methodist Church, and Mr. Richard Grigsby. And it looks like Sherry has been very active in the community as well. Enon Emergency Relief for 10 years, very active in the church for 50 plus years, and does a lot of work with the Adopt-A Family. It appears as though she has served in many different positions with the United Methodist Church. She was treasurer for the women's organization. She does senior breakfast for the high school students, helps Vacation Bible School. So again, her nomination along with her credentials were outlined in the form and also in those support letters. And the last, for Young Citizen of the Year, we have Ms. Anna Collins from here in Enon. That was nominated by Andrea Maxon, who is, she's a counselor, I'm not sure what her official title, is it guidance counselor? Okay, there at the school district. I got to tell you, this young lady seems like she has done it all. She's on the swim team where she's the captain, drama club, marching band. She's a drum major, symphonic, National Honor Society, Varsity G. She volunteers at the YMCA, helps at her church with children's programs, and she is a seamstress. You don't hear much about people being a seamstress this day and age, so that's great. She's also a lifeguard at the YMCA and at the water park. So first of all, congratulations to her because she was the only nomination for this year. And for the Citizen of the Year, if you would take a moment and vote for your candidate there. And you should have, did everybody get a form, Kevin? Everybody's got, okay, good deal.
Did you fill it out? Okay.
It's an every year thing. So it's an every year.
It's like, I wonder which one's red.
Fold it up into 13 folds.
Oh, I gotcha.
Does that every time, doesn't it?
Every year,
time.
yeah.
That was sick.
Yeah, for the last 15 years, he's been doing this. It'll never happen.
I just wish I had an envelope where I could hermetically seal that before.
And the winner is, oh,
While he's counting, there's the layout for that brewery, just a preliminary. I know you were asking about parking.
so all the trees we took care of.
John, is it John or Joel? John being west.
So it's supposedly working, but
I guess I figured that's the only way they can, I don't know if that's enough spaces or not. All right, and at this time, I would like to congratulate Sherry Bostic for the 2022 Citizen of the Year that will be recognized by the Village of Enon.
And that's ceremonies when, or do we have a date yet?
Typically, it's like that first weekend in May, but
Right.
we'll have to make sure that the recipients will be
Sure.
available, so, yep.
Will that be up at the church again then, or is that?
I think that seems to work pretty well, but to be determined, but yeah, we'll see what's available. We've taken it around a couple different places. Comments from the public?
I've been silent too long.
Motion to adjourn.
Opposed. Chuck Wazag, Village of Enon resident. Number one, I'd like to apologize for interjecting my comment about asking about the emergency vehicles. I apologize for that. I was out of order. I should have been gavelled.
I should have.
You should have, and I should have been dismissed or at least arrested. Sorry, so I didn't say that. Are we not concerned with the lack of direction our Village of Enon residents are being given relative to the traffic situation being created down there with the construction project? First of all, let me tell you, I am opposed to letting the traffic go through the school. You're going to establish a precedent that you're never, ever going to be able to defeat. Now, you lay that on the back, perhaps we're laying that on the back of the school, but look, we've got county, we've got township, we've got Village of Enon, we've got the school. Where is the leadership here with regard to laying out what's going to happen and what's not going to happen? And you've got the contractor. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here, my wife asked me, she says, well, what are we doing out there with regard to this traffic situation for this? Is it 7 days? Is it 3 days? It's like, and is it one intersection or is it both intersections? Okay, you've answered that. But we have not given the Village of Enon residents clear direction with regard to where they're going to drive. Now, I'm not so much concerned with the occasional vehicle, and I dispute you. There's going to be a lot of traffic. You ask the mayor, and I've got a property down there on Sunnybrook, and I know how much traffic has increased.
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot of traffic going to want to use that school as a cutoff. But that isn't my major concern. My concern is, what are you going to do with lawn care trucks and the garbage trucks that are going to want to use the same roads? Are those driveways built to the same sturdy nature as our roads that are maintained by tax dollars? They're not. They're paid for by school taxes. And who's going to have to pay for those? Well, it's this community here. So I stand opposed, and I challenge you to take the bull by the horns and get this thing figured out and get that property blocked off so that we don't have traffic through there. Take a leadership role and don't be passive on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
There was a state ordinance that it used to work in effect where somebody would cut through private property in order to avoid a traffic light. Is that still in effect, or?
Yeah, that's what I was bringing up earlier. And just to comment, I've recommended when they put the roads in, I recommended speed bumps through there just to kind of slow traffic down. But also at our last meeting, I did recommend that they shut that parking lot down. They do have one gate on one side, however,
Close the gate.
front one. Yeah, and that is something they can do, but they are the property owners, and I can't make the school do it. And I agree. I think traffic's going to flow through there, and I don't think that it should, but they're going to do that if it's not blocked off.
Let's make contact with them. Let's make a call.
And there's not a gate on the Rebert side, though, right?
There is a gate on the Rebert side. There's not a gate on the South Enon Xenia side.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I need to interject here. My concern
No,
is,
there isn't. Okay.
My concern is with the Village of Enon residents. Okay, I'm not concerned with the school ownership of that property. If our residents are using that property improperly, then we haven't advised them that that's a bad thing, and it's a posted speed limit 10 miles per hour back there.
Yes.
Who's patrolling that? I mean,
it's private property. That's the sad part.
That's
Yeah,
why I asked about
it's-
that earlier, Chuck, was if there was any specific word that would allow us to stop it, and the chief said no.
yeah, we can
That's
stop it.
interesting.
We put up a couple of crossbucks out there on the on the entrances and say, we, the Village of Enon, are closing this entryway.
Kevin?
Okay.
Easily done.
What's the possibility of those big marker boards they've got down there, which I'm impressed with those being out there, having that program to be, there would be no cut through the schools, or no that might be something if.
It falls on the school to shut their property down in the end. I mean, I hate to say it, but it does.
So let's kind of wrap this up. So two things here. We need to try to make sure the residents are educated. You can't use that. You need to talk to the school, find out what kind of plan they have, if they have one. And let's do that. Let's pose those two questions. How are they going to get out, or we get out, all of us get out? Don't use that for a pathway, number one. Number two, what is the school going to do to ensure that? Okay? Sound reasonable? All right.
I have two comments. One is we have a lack of communication in our community as it is right now anyway, so that will be hard to do. And question to the chief, does the SRO have any jurisdiction on something like that?
He doesn't really, I don't get a whole lot of communication with him, and I know that I have asked about the enforcement of speed on, that's not a public street and it's private property. Honestly, their signs aren't even according to ODOT. We could go on and on and on,
Right.
but it's short of them driving ridiculous. That is their property, and that is why a lot of times you'll see schools that have gates or the speed bumps and all that to literally reduce that issue. It was very recommended by me at multiple meetings as far as speed bumps go. They didn't do that. That's their choice. And as far as the gates go, I don't know why they don't have gates. It's been suggested. I can't buy it and put it up for them.
Well, we've got two questions posed, so I'm gonna turn that over to you guys to, let's make contact
I'll
with
reach
the
out to
school.
the superintendent and again,
Okay.
express the concerns. I'll personally do that myself again.
Appreciate it. Anything else?
I have one more thing. Motion to adjourn.
Sneaky.
Oh,
Motion
my
by Mr.
goodness.
Sweet, second by Mr. Whitaker. All in favor, say
The
aye.
power is
Aye.
shifting to the
Opposed?
side of the table.
Same sign. Meeting adjourned.
No.
You're getting slow in your old age.
Now my feelings are hurt.